Something happened today that has not happened in nearly 400 years. A member of the British royal family was arrested, not in a novel, not in a history book. Today, February 19th, 2026. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the man who was, until very recently, known to the world as Prince Andrew, second son of the late Queen Elizabeth II, brother of the current king, was placed in handcuffs at his home on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, England, at approximately 8 in the morning local time. 6 unmarked police vehicles pulled up. Searches were conducted simultaneously at 2 addresses. He was taken to a police station and held for 11 hours. And the reason he was arrested is directly connected to documents sitting right now in a database maintained by the United States Department of Justice. The Epstein files did that today. And that is where we need to start, because the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor did not happen in isolation. It happened at the end of a week that has produced a cascade of extraordinary developments surrounding the Epstein files, the Department of Justice's handling of them, and a congressional and legal debate that is now metastasizing far beyond Washington. We are going to go through all of it, because the individual pieces of this story matter enormously. And when you see them together, the picture they form is unlike anything this country, or frankly the world, has seen in a very long time. Let's start with a statement that went viral on February 3rd. Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu of California stood in front of cameras and said this, and I want to be precise about his words, because the precision here matters enormously. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there are highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage the press to go look at these allegations. Allegations. That is the word he used. He was not asserting that crimes were proven. He was not claiming that Trump had been charged or convicted of anything. He was saying that the files contain allegations, which is a legally and journalistically meaningful distinction. And he was calling on reporters to go look at them. No court has found Trump guilty of any crime. Trump has denied all wrongdoing. The Department of Justice itself stated in its release that some of the documents contain what it described as untrue and sensationalist claims against Trump. All of that context matters and must not be obscured. But here is what is also true, documented and verified. The files do contain those allegations. The New York Times conducted an exhaustive review of the Justice Department's release of more than 3 million pages of documents and found more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife Melania, their Mar-a-Lago residence, and related terms across more than 5,300 individual files. The Times was careful to note that many of those mentions are benign, news clippings, emails, passing references, and that none of the files they reviewed contained direct communications between Trump and Epstein. But the FBI itself compiled a summary of tips related to Trump from its National Threat Operations Center, a compilation that an FBI field office in New York produced this past August and included in the materials released by the DOJ. That summary contains multiple unverified allegations, including the one Congressman Lieu appears to have been referencing. An FBI intake form from the National Threat Operations Center describing an account from a man identifying himself as a former limousine driver for Trump, who said that a young girl he encountered told him directly that Epstein and Trump had raped her, and that the man said he overheard a phone call between Trump and Epstein that disturbed him so profoundly, he said he wanted to stop the car. These are unverified allegations. They are FBI tip line records. They are not adjudicated facts. The DOJ says they are not credible, but they are in the official files. They are in the public record. And a sitting member of Congress from California, who is also a former military prosecutor with a JAG background, made the calculation this week that they deserve to be publicly discussed rather than quietly buried. Congressman Lieu did not stop there. The day before his statement, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who, it must be noted, is also Donald Trump's former personal defense attorney, the lawyer who represented him in the New York criminal trial, appeared on Fox News. He was asked point blank by host Laura Ingraham whether he planned to prosecute anyone who had, in her words, partied with Epstein and engaged in relations with minors. Blanche's response was this: "It is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It is not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have evidence that will allow us to prosecute them, you better believe we will." not a crime to party with Epstein. That is what the second highest law enforcement official in the United States said on national television. And Congressman Liu came back at him the very next day, not in a press release, in front of cameras, specifically on the law. Because it turns out, and this is a statutory fact, not a political opinion, that Liu was legally correct. Under 18 United States Code, Section 1591, the federal sex trafficking statute as amended by the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act of 2015, the word patronizes is explicitly included in the law's list of prohibited acts. The statute makes it a federal crime to knowingly patronize a person when you know or act in reckless disregard of the fact that the person is a minor or that force, fraud, or coercion is being used. The Congressional Research Service has confirmed that this language was specifically added to cover customers, the people attending such operations. So when Liu said that showing up at an Epstein-run event and patronizing what Epstein was providing could, under certain circumstances, be a federal crime, he was not making that up. He was reading the statute. Congress.gov confirms it. Cornell Law School's Legal Information Institute confirms it. The law says what Liu said it says. Blanche's response, according to legal analysts and multiple congressional Democrats, left out the most important word in that statute, the word patronize. And it suggested a legal framework for evaluating these events that, at minimum, does not reflect the full scope of what the law actually prohibits. Meanwhile, the documents themselves have continued producing new revelations that extend far beyond any single allegation or any single statement. The New York Times review found, among the many references to Trump in the files, a handwritten note from a 2019 FBI interview with a victim, whose name has been redacted, who said she recalled being transported to Mar-a-Lago. The same batch of documents contained the now widely reported email from Melania Trump to Ghislaine Maxwell, dating to October 2002, in which she addresses Maxwell as G, compliments her appearance in a New York Magazine article about Epstein, and signs off, "Love, Melania." The files also exposed, through a separate DOJ release error, nearly 40 unredacted nude photographs of young women, some of whom may have been teenagers, published with their faces visible on the Justice Department's own website. The New York Times flagged them. Attorneys representing more than 200 alleged victims called the release, in a formal court filing, the single most egregious violation of victim privacy in one day in United States history. The Wall Street Journal found that at least 43 victims' full names were exposed, including more than 24 who were minors when they were abused. The DOJ acknowledged the errors. Deputy Attorney General Blanche said the redaction failures affected about 0.01% of all materials. The attorneys for the survivors said there were literally thousands of mistakes. And now to what happened today. Because what happened today may be the most consequential single development in this story since the files were released. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested by Thames Valley Police on suspicion of misconduct in public office. That is a common law offense in the United Kingdom that, at its most serious, carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. He was arrested in connection with allegations that, while serving as the United Kingdom's special trade envoy, a role he held from 2001 to 2011, he forwarded confidential government documents and diplomatic reports to Jeffrey Epstein. The documents that triggered this investigation were found in the files released by the United States Department of Justice. Among them, emails appearing to show Mountbatten Windsor forwarding to Epstein confidential reports about his official trade envoy visits to Vietnam, Singapore, and China, as well as a document in which he sought Epstein's views on investment opportunities in Afghanistan's Helmand province, one of the most sensitive areas of active military operations at the time. Mountbatten Windsor has always denied any wrongdoing in connection with Epstein. He denied it again, in a general sense, through the absence of any public comment today. He was held for 11 hours. He was released under investigation, which in British law means he has been neither charged nor exonerated, and the investigation continues. King Charles III released a statement this morning. The king said he had learned of the arrest with, quote, "the deepest concern," and that the law must take its course. He said the authorities have his wholehearted support and cooperation. The Prince and Princess of Wales indicated they support the king's statement. The arrest was described by British officials as the first arrest of a senior member of the royal family in nearly 4 centuries. The National Police Chiefs Council, which is coordinating Epstein-related investigations across British police forces, gave the Home Office 30 minutes warning before the arrest, which it described as routine practice. Virginia Giuffre, who alleged she was trafficked to Mountbatten, Windsor by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on 3 occasions when she was just 17 years old, and who died by suicide in April 2025, did not live to see this day. Her family did. At last, her siblings said in a statement, "Our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. He was never a prince. For survivors everywhere, Virginia did this for you." President Trump, speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, called the arrest very sad. He said it was so bad for the royal family. He was then asked by a reporter whether associates of Epstein could be arrested in the United States. His response, "Well, you know, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated." He has not been charged with any crime. No U.S. court has addressed any allegation against him in connection with Epstein. The DOJ, which he controls, has said the allegations are not credible. Whether the phrase totally exonerated accurately characterizes a situation in which no formal legal process relating to Epstein allegations has ever concluded about him is a question worth sitting with. Here is what is inescapable. The Epstein files have now produced an arrest of a former member of the British royal family. They have produced a criminal charge against a former Norwegian prime minister. They produced the resignation or removal from prominent roles of multiple executives and public figures. They are producing ongoing congressional investigations, bipartisan demands for transparency, a formal allegation that the DOJ is improperly redacting documents, and a 5-hour screaming match of a hearing in which the Attorney General of the United States refused to look at the survivors sitting behind her. And they produced this week a Democratic congressman standing at a microphone and saying the words carefully, precisely, with the word allegations intact, that virtually no one in official Washington had been willing to say out loud before. The files are still being processed. The depositions are still coming. The investigations are still open on both sides of the Atlantic and now in Norway as well. The question of who knew what, who did what, and who enabled what is being asked by law enforcement, by lawmakers, and by the public in ways that show no sign of stopping. What started as the release of files has become something else entirely. It has become a reckoning that is crossing borders, toppling titles, and arriving on the doorsteps of people who believed for a very long time that it never would. Stay with us.